Hey guys, so we have another shave with the Timeless 68 open comb. It's too rough for me usually, but right now the blade I've got in it is my Nacet that I've been using many times. And these dots up here are what we're going to add to 200, because that's how many other dots there are on this. And so we're at 206 right now. So today is use number 207. I'm going to be shaving for the first time with this little Omega, cheap little plastic handle, banded fibers there, and he is potentially going to join the Boarathon. That's what I've been kind of calling it. The rotation of Boar brushes that I've been raising up kind of at the same rate. He's going to have to do some catching up. I did previously have the 10098 model, which is that black barber style long handle, and then the bristles themselves are unbanded, undyed, and they're very long. And so it hit me as I was using that razor, that as I was using that brush, that even if these tips, which has been very slow to split and get softer, even when they get soft, I'm probably not going to like the length, the loft of those bristles. And so I started researching, because Omega is so popular of a Boar brush maker, that I wanted some good representatives of that brand in the mix for the Boarathon. And so I happened to remember and notice that this little Boar right here was in play, and I had received him as a part of a box of stuff that I bought and never really used him. I've done one test lather with him. No, I think I've done two, and then I've done some soaking as well. So in a sense, he might be at use 2 or 3 if you were going by just simple uses. I believe, after looking at the Omega brush website, which is omegabrush.com, that it is the 80266 model. I think the 66 may refer to the color. I'm not sure. So maybe the 802 is the model or something like that. Maybe some of you Omega aficionados can help me with that. One difference in today's shave. There's a difference and there's the same. Same as the blade, the razor, and the soap. Soap today is Barrister and Mann Rsrv Spice. I really like it. The difference, one of them is the brush, the other is this lather bowl. If you have watched my channel for a long time, then you will have seen this bowl before. I used it quite a bit. It's a custom ceramic bowl that I had made, and it's got some dust on it because once I got my Roger Quintero design 3D printed lather bowl, similar specs, I kind of switched to it and didn't really go back. But I had some problems with my Rsrv base, which is the soap lather. It just felt a little too airy. It didn't feel creamy. That silkiness that I remember that I used a while back, that was gone. And so I'm going to try this bowl. It doesn't have it has got a smooth bottom, and it's got these concentric circles as kind of hills, as very smooth ridges. The printed bowl has some pretty sharp ridges. Could that be introducing those micro bubbles into the lather that's taking away a little bit of the thick viscosity that may be adding too much in terms of bubbles into the lather? So that's one change we're going to make. The other change is I'm going to add water more slowly. Sometimes in science you don't want to change too many variables at once. But in this case, it's not serious science. They're just playing around. We're just shaving. So, if it's a success, then I won't know which of the changes is the winner. But at least I'll know that it's possible to get a better lather by changing something, and I can isolate that later. But if it fails, then I'll have shortcutted my way to figuring out which things it's not. All right, so the blade is in, ready to go. I've shown you the brush, the soap, the bowl, the blade. So let's throw on a little bit of water on my face. Not quite 24 hours. So the the old Nacet blade is going to like that. Yesterday, the previous shave was longer than 24 hours, about a day and a half. Sorry, and the Nacet didn't like that as much. Tugged a little bit on the first pass. 40 seconds of loading yesterday with a bigger Boar brush was appropriate. Now, you know what? I'm going to remember to weigh. I'm going to remember to weigh this soap before I use it, because then I can count how many uses, weigh it again later, 15 uses down the road or whatever, and then get a good statistic on how much I use of this soap base per shave. So I always weigh it with the cap off. 188. I'm going to weigh it a few times and kind of take the average, just in case my scale is a little bit wonky. 188. I got that the most times. So 188 grams. There we go. It hadn't been used too many times, maybe 5, 6. So it should be that should be the weight when full. All right, ish. This brush has been soaking for about 15 minutes, so that's a good amount. In this Boarathon, I do usually soak them for longer, and so I'll probably try to do that next time. But this is good for now. Some of these tips have even started to split already, and I'm pleased with that. Maybe this banded Boar is a little bit easier to break in than the unbanded, unbleached one. As is my custom, I'll shake most of the water out. Okay, let's do a 40-second load now, and we can start right at 40, so we can go until 20 on the next minute. Just kind of light to medium pressure is what I do. You can do whatever you want. It's best if you're consistent, if you do time it or something like that. But you can also just watch it and kind of memorize how your soap looks when you get it right. That's definitely one way to go. You can also count your revolutions if you don't have a clock nearby. 8 more seconds. It's gotten pasty. It's possible I needed more water. That's another thing to play around with. All right. Didn't really overflow on the threads or anything, so I don't need to clean those off. This is going to sound different because the plastic bowl that I had 3D printed has a texture to it because of the 3D printing process. Of course, the ridges also make kind of a noise. This is much quieter. I've often wondered if the sound, if people might like the sound a little better on this bowl. But that other one has this really great brush rest. This one has, the middle goes down, is the lowest part of the interior of the bowl. The printed bowl has a lump. And so when you put the brush down like this, with this bowl it tends to slide all the way down and get all soapy. With the other one it doesn't. So we've changed bowls to something smoother to see if that helps. And then I'm gonna slowly add water this time. I'm not gonna obsess about how much water I'm adding compared to last time because this is a smaller Boar brush by far, and so that can change things, but I'm just going to add it slowly and we'll see. So this brush does share some of the common elements to the printed bowl. It does have a bottom texture to kind of help the bristles to move around and agitate, activate, and move. It does have an inturned interior top lip to help the lather to stay in the bowl, to fold back into the bowl. Well, one nice thing about this bowl is that you can hear that texture of the soap. Sometimes that is a good diagnostic tool. You can hear it changing, and when it's pasty, it kind of sometimes almost has a sucking sound to it. Then when it gets all slippery and super wet, it'll change into something more smooth. The soap here, the lather, is gradually increasing in volume. So that's 2 teaspoons now. Refill the syringe. Watching Christmas movies lately, since it is December. I've got that, just watched Holiday Inn recently. Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire. Read the reviews on it because my Plex media server showed some reviews, you know, as you bring it up and look at it. And it said the score, the musical score, was what kind of saves the movie. It was a very thin plot line, but it was saved by the musical score. Some of those songs running through my head. It's actually a pretty good movie to watch while I work, because I'm kind of only halfway interested in it, and that way it's not distracting me from my work. But then musicals are kind of nice because it's like having music playing in the background instead of some attention-grabbing video. Alright, well, let's take a look at what we have. This looks wetter than what I used yesterday. And that does stand to reason, because if this brush was not able to pull up as much soap off the puck as yesterday's, because this is a smaller brush, then adding, you know, the same amount, 3 teaspoons of water, then could have a higher water ratio there. So I may go back to the tub for a little bit more loading. We still kind of had the, oh yeah, see, look, it is slowly dripping off of the brush there. I am going to go back and kind of gather up a little bit more from the puck here. See if that can thicken up what we have here in the bowl. It's very interesting. I wonder if my memory, if I came to the Rsrv base, maybe one of my first premium bases, if I came to the Rsrv base from a really bad soap, one that just wasn't very creamy or something like that, and so then this one by contrast really impressed me, and now I've been in the land of premium soaps for a while, and so now it's like going back to school, and it's a lot smaller than you remember, you know. But we'll see. So yeah, this has thickened up the lather. Still got some nice stretch to it. Just spend another little bit mixing it, try to making it a nice even mix. I did not, the micro bubbles are definitely still there. Let's just see if it has a different feel today. About the same as yesterday. Interesting. All right, well, let's go with this lather. Long stretch. Peaks not really supporting its own weight there in the bowl. Those are some landmarks you can look for if you're trying to maybe duplicate this. So I'm going to try this in with maybe distilled water next. That might be what I go for. All right, water on my face. All right. Oh, now see, this brush feels very much different than the other Omega I've been using. This is a delight. Now, it's not super soft. However, it's still young, and so I know that this is going to get even better. So this is why I'm confident. This is why people love their Omegas. And if you want a scratchy one, you know, then you can get maybe the unbleached kind and be just fine with that. As you can tell, I keep having to go back to the puck, to the lather bowl. Well, that could be the brush itself. Totally could be. Could be the lather. So you know what let's do? Let's go to the puck here and gather up some of this lather. Maybe even do a couple of turns around there. And just see if it thickens it up to something we like. So this brush is the Boar brushes. They're the only ones that do this. They split, the tips split, and so let's say it starts out with 1,000 tips. Some of them could split three ways, so then you end up with 3,000 tips, and so that's why they get softer. Cheap little brushes, so that's good, very affordable. I'm really glad I remembered I had this guy and that I brought him in, because my previous experience was with just one kind, that stiff kind that, you know, takes a long time to break in. This guy, a little quicker. Well, a lot quicker. He doesn't feel like he's giving me any brush burn either, so that's good too. Don't like this little handle. It's a little too small, but it's serviceable. But you can definitely break this off and move the knot into a nicer handle. This soap is a strong one, so I'm definitely getting a nose full, and so you better like it if you like this soap. All right, now, how does this feel? Yeah, that's nice and slick. Puff up my cheeks a little bit to help with providing a good background to shave with. Wish you could kind of do that with my neck. A little bit of tugging, but nothing uncomfortable. So that Power Stick balm I used yesterday, first time I ever tried it, seemed to work pretty well. Hours later, my skin felt really, you know, nourished. All right, rinse. All right, so see what happens without that center thing in the middle. The brush just slides on down. Not really too big of a deal. So I may go back to the puck again, and that's not a fault of the base, or at least it might not be. This brush may just not be mature enough to handle a lot of the lather right now. It's just young. Feels nice and soft. The bristles are bending nicely. It's easy to splay, and no prickle, anything like that. I don't like that I'm running out of lather. I don't have tons of lather left, and it's flying off. So this is kind of a wet lather. Some guys, they know that they've gotten their lather just right when it's falling off of the face. That's the way they like it. You can choose what you like. Cross grain now. My grain on my cheeks pretty much starts from the top and just goes straight down. So this is a cross grain pass. There was definitely some more stubble than, you know, usual left after that first pass. But I've never really found that to be a problem, because the second pass more than makes up for it. And right here I'm doing very purposeful directions, because I've figured it out for my own face. From right here, it's usually better if I kind of bring it in like that. Up here on the jawline, it's a little bit better if I do like that. In my trouble spot right here, kind of this is a cross grain this way. And then to get the kind of bottom line here, just kind of do short strokes up this way. So all those are very practiced, very purposeful to compensate for the kind of the swirly change of directions in that area. That's my worst area because of all those changes in direction. What I maybe just realized was back when I kind of established the Rsrv here as one of my favorite bases, and how I was impacted by the slickness, I was probably feeling it during the rinsing process. And again, here today, I felt that in the same way, just a silkiness, there's the smoothness. It's even still a little bit resonant right now. I may not have been evaluating the soap in the same way, between the fingers and things like that back then. So who knows? It's possible after I play around with Rsrv, I might actually change my preference to maybe it's not quite as high on my list as it has been for a long time. All right, third pass. I'm going to have to go back and get just a little bit of soap here. All right, I had to go back to the puck for 4 seconds each time, twice. So, and then I've been adding just a little bit of water, a few drops at a time to build back up for the third pass because I ran out of lather. So for right now with this brush, I may need to load for something like a minute or so. And the procedure is when it feels like it needs a little bit more water, and this is something I do with other brushes as well when I kind of need to rescue them. Turn my head to the side, put some water in the brush, and this way the water is pulled down by gravity toward the tips of the brush and helps with the lather instead of coming down through the handle. This is also a good test because this brush is not, giving me brush burn. It's nice and soft. So I can say I'm enjoying this Omega. That's for sure. And I fully expect it. It's it's got similar backbone to the Smogs that I've got. I've got several. Be interesting to see how it changes. It almost could be a little more floppy, a little less backbone than some of the Smogs. It might be exactly the same as others. And I believe research showed me that the Omega uses the same bristles in all their brushes, the same Boar bristles. So if I test with one brush that has the Boar, then it's the same as all the others. The only change is going to be some are bleached and some are not. So those are kind of the two kinds of Omegas to have. And beyond that, the only differences are the size of the brush, the loft, diameter, and the handle, of course. And many of those handles are just so small and cheap looking. A few of them are longer. Let's see, I need to remember. I've been changing the direction on the, yeah, that's better. That doesn't stir up any problems. This feels like it needs a little bit of water on my face here. Let's add some drops and see if that kind of activates the slickness on my face. Yeah, that feels better. I'm just reveling in the knowledge, the new experience with the Omega, and it's so different than the other Omegas I've tried. There is a little pocket Omega right here that, man, I've even put in the fridge for 3 days. See, he travels, you know. And I have, and he is just stiff as a board. But this guy is very different. That's not really a very close shave right here. Do I have enough? Let me do a rinse. I just did a half rinse so that maybe some of the leftover soap could stick around so that I could really get this area hopefully cut a little closer. The general shadow was just kind of prominent right there. Little skin pulling. See if that helps. You don't want to do it too tight. Sometimes that can give you ingrowns because it cuts too low, cuts too deep. That's better. Yeah. Good improvement with that, I think. All right. Alright, well, this was a messy shave. That's one of the reasons I don't like face lathering, because of all the mess. Personally, I don't like it. But it can sometimes mean that you experience really nice wet lathers, and so give it a shot, see if you like it. But I like to try to get wet lathers without the mess. And so that's why I like lathering in a bowl. I don't think that the bowl made any difference. I don't think it helped it to be, you know, less airy. But and I don't know that adding water slowly was any different either. I told you guys a day or two ago about the puzzle challenge. Declaration Grooming put together a puzzle scent. They're not telling anybody the notes. You had to sign up in a specific form to then be able to later on be on the mailing list to order it. And I ordered mine just either yesterday or the day before. It's probably going to come priority mail, so sometimes that's, 3 days or something like that. And so it could be that I get that tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm going to have another chance to try this soap base out with the distilled water. We'll see. All right. No irritation. Face feels great. I see a little bit of pinkness in a few spots, but it doesn't feel like any problem. So this is the 80266, as best as I can tell from their website, because I had to look up, which one is the banded. Let me rinse this off. Which one has the shape of handle that this one has, and then which one's banded. And the 66 at the end may mean the white color. And so there we go. So I think this is the 80266. And so I'll probably have to, eventually I'm sure I'll memorize that number because I'll say it so many times. But it's not sticking in my brain right away. The handle was surprisingly effective. It's a light brush, not a lot of drag in the bowl. And so the fact that you don't have quite as much leverage because of the small handle wasn't really an issue. Now it's a small knot. All that's compressing down pretty small. And it's just a new brush. And so that's why I had to keep going back to the soap, going back to the tub, get more lather, that sort of thing. Even when he opens up and splays and splits and all that, it's possible that his softness and smallness may mean that I simply have to add 20 seconds to a soap's load time. Not a big deal. Also, as you could hopefully see, even this small size, I was easily able to cover the area I needed to cover. And sometimes these smaller brushes are more enjoyable because I can actually move around. If I've got a big brush, then it's covering so much that I can't move around very much. Whereas this little guy, I could do the motions, you know? And so if you're new, don't just jump really quickly into big brushes if you don't need to. And play around with it. Enjoy the small ones before you go getting big. So this is what he looks like after a good strop on the towel. Still kind of keeping his focus up, a few outliers, but that is typical for even Smogs when they're new and young and all that stuff. So there we go. My first use. I want to count it as 2 uses in my system though, because I did do a good bit of pre-work with practice lathers and things like that before the actual use. And so I believe that more accurately reflects its age. And that'll also help to practice lathers and stuff will help to help this guy to catch up to the 20 shaves that a lot of the other boars are in. Well, the spice smells good. The peppermint balm I used yesterday was nice. It didn't really, the peppermint strength weakened pretty quickly, and so I didn't walk around smelling like a candy cane, and it minimized really quickly actually, and it just felt kind of fresh and nice, and I think it did a good job with protecting me, keeping a nice healthy feel to my skin all day, most of the day. So that gets a pass, gets a thumbs up so far. Let's go see what we have down there this time. I got this used a long time ago. Lucky Tiger Aftershave Face Tonic. And it works really well. It's got some aloe vera, calendula, chamomile, and it smells like orange. It doesn't have alcohol, and so it's not going to burn. So if you have dry skin or sensitive skin, then it's a nice way to go. And I've got another bottle of this that I bought used, so I need to enjoy this and get on to the next one. But it little goes a long way, it seems. Might take a while. A nice easygoing kind of tonic. And that's why they call it a tonic, I believe. Just light. How close are we getting this time? There's a general kind of shadow feeling that is there, but I think that's an acceptable shave by many standards. Kind of like I said yesterday, if you had a really stringent, meticulous job where you were just in front of people and that you were expected to be just utterly, totally clean shaven to a high degree, then maybe you're not the kind of person to take a blade this far, because at its advanced age, you're not going to quite get the closeness that you might normally get. But for me, in my current job, it's fine. And I think in many jobs, I'd say 90% of the jobs out there, this shave would be just fine. All right, well, I'm going to put stuff away. So we did end up using 3 teaspoons of water. And I went back to the soap, I don't know, probably for another 20 or 30 seconds after that initial 40-second load. But since we're dealing with a young boar, that figure is not really something to maybe for somebody to try to incorporate into their own experience, unless you're also dealing with a young Omega brush that is abandoned like this one. Oh, almost forgot to show you the blade. Because I'm using the same razor and the same blade every day, I just keep it inside it, and so that's why my method, my pattern was a little bit different. here is the, just rinsed it in hot water just to kind of rinse away any grime or anything. And down here is the remnants of the X that has been there from the beginning. Later on I might put another mark somewhere else just to, in case the X fades totally. But yeah, for storage, I just unscrew it some to allow some good airflow. Give it a good rinse with water. I hold the two pieces of the heads together this way to keep them from spinning, and I give it a good shake to get any of some heavy droplets out. And now he is ready for storage. You could take the blade out each time if you wanted to, but I don't. If I know I'm going to use the same setup the next day, which I do. All right, the Lucky Tiger, the orange is going really well with the leftover Old Spice type scent that is from the Barrister and Mann. A really nice matchup there. So a good blend, a good transition into something else. And yeah, the slickness on the face for the Barrister and Mann was terrific. Nice and just silky smooth. But there are other soap bases that give me a nice feel on the face and also just kind of a nice feel on the fingers too. And so those, I might have to start making a list of the soap bases and how I'm experiencing them to kind of get because I'm often asked what my favorite soap is, what my favorite soap base is, since I do a lot of YouTube videos. And so I'd like to formulate an educated, accurate answer for that. So I'll start working on that. All right, well, so we'll see if Puzzle arrives tomorrow, and then that'll be what I shave with as I try to guess the scent notes. Otherwise, we'll hit this Barrister and Mann Rsrv again. And as you can see, I had a great lather going. I just didn't quite make up enough of it because of the brush. But some people find Rsrv hard to lather. And I mean, my method is that I use for so many soaps. It's just not a problem for Rsrv. And so maybe they are face latherers and they go at it for a while and then start working it on their face and it just doesn't work somehow. Maybe they're not spending enough time doing something. But it sure works for me. So maybe if I get more videos out there with Rsrv going, then we can keep that being a nice, powerful soap base that exists for us. I love the way in the Rsrv line, Will, the man behind Barrister and Mann, the goal of that line was to take previously existing older scents that just were good ones by their own merit and re-envisioning them and trying to recreate them in their original scents. And the cool is kind of like the Aqua Velva, just that blue type scent. There's a lavender one, and who knows, I might go ahead and break down and get that lavender. I usually don't go for a lot of lavender, but I think in my mind I've been thinking of lavender as more of a floral rosy, and it's not. To me, it's maybe more of an herb kind of flower instead of a female, feminine kind of powdery, rosy flower. So I might start branching out. I used that Cyril Salter lavender the other day, and that was a good shave. So I might open up to some lavenders and see what happens, especially ones with other elements coming in to kind of make them mature and multi-dimensional. All right, well, that's today's shave. The 80266 was the brush, bringing that into the mix. The bowl, haven't used that in a while, and that was fun to use. I like the way it sits in my hand because it's so heavy, but it does seem like it takes a little longer to whip up the lather with that bowl, and so which is typical because which is to be expected because this does the smoothness, and there's just not as much down here to agitate. But still, I value the shape, the inturned lip here, the size, much more, and I've said this for a long time, much more than interior texture. Even if this was totally smooth, I would still enjoy this as a bowl more so than many other bowls out there that are smaller, that sort of thing. All right, good shave, good shave. No issues at all. Face feels great and it looks good. So 207 is in the books. All right, now this is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope there's been something here that's been good for you, that you've enjoyed. It's time for me to go do some work. You take care. Have a good night.